Wow, my clap didn't work. What's up? Good morning. It is the Friday Mastermind every Friday now for over 3 years. Todd Bookspan and I are leading a mastermind of awesome mortgage leaders. Today, the call is all framed around modern leadership and modern team building. What does that mean? What are some of the tactics? What are some lessons learned through 2020 that are super relevant in 2021? It's awesome, Todd, to have you as really not my wingman, but the co-host of our call today, man.
Hey, it's always great way to spend my Friday mornings with you, Dave.
Yeah, I am fired up, bro. So I think this is something near and dear to your heart, and I'm happy to take a backseat to you because we're going to be talking about leadership and management. And while you first and foremost are the founder and leader of Win by Noon in that movement, you still have a backstory of a team that's done over 500 loans a year for over 7 years. And I know you've trained and coached a lot of top producers that want to get over 500. So feel free to lead this call as much as you want, my man.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's definitely something that's near and dear to my heart. I feel like, when I was able to scale a team and walk away to start coaching, that attracted a lot of others to me who wanted to learn to do the same, who wanted to be able to build, not just build a business, but build a team that would sustain the production, beyond their day-to-day involvement. And so I'm super excited because we got some, great leaders here on the call today that I'm going to learn from as well.
Right on. So guys, this is a mastermind. As a reminder to everyone, if you're in Zoom, you can ask questions in Zoom. If you're watching this from our Facebook community, ask questions. And even if you're watching the recording of this and it's not live, keep the questions coming. So we have with us today, Brian Covey. I don't know. I feel like he almost needs no introduction because he's so omnipresent on social media. But for Brian, anyone who doesn't know who you are, could you just give a little backstory of your day-to-day and who you are as a leader?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Number one, this is the first time we've been able to actually collaborate on this platform, and mortgage coaches community near and dear to my heart. So I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a dad of three. My oldest is my daughter, 13. Then I've got a 12-year-old son and a 5-year-old son. And my wife and I actually met in Memphis, where I grew up. And that's actually where my mortgage career started, as a credit consultant, opening checking accounts, all that. And then I moved through the mortgage business. Spent some time at Wells Fargo, spent some time at another mortgage company before I got to Loan Depot. And my story goes back to my soccer days and that competitive drive and learning discipline and all that carries over today, where sports at that level is really ingrained in me as a leader. Great mentors, great coaches taught me that being a great leader requires us to be not only engaged in the day-to-day, but we also have to lead from the front, and it's ever evolving. So, I love it, Dave. So high level, our team this year will do a little bit over 3 billion. We're in 8 states. I'm fortunate enough to work with guys like Sean, who's on the call today. And my passion is all around really bringing up that next generation of leaders that will be modern leaders. And I know we'll unpack some of that today, but man, that's something I wake up every day just fired up about, is how do we continually evolve and get better and move our industry forward collectively?
I love it. I love it. And you said you played soccer at a high level. What does that mean? What level?
D1 college. And then I went on and got drafted to play professionally as well.
Nice. So you know what it's like to be an athlete at a very high level. Maybe that's how you have so many Instagram followers. I always go like, I don't know if there's another mortgage guy that has more Instagram followers than you. Did that come from soccer, or did you do that all through the mortgage business?
Soccer, mortgage, fitness stuff there, podcasting, and just a lot of other mastermind groups that I'm a part of outside, with some coaches and some mentors of mine that connected me with some of the most amazing people outside the industry that I still learn from and call friends and mentors.
Love it. So Sean, we also have you. Now, Sean, I have interviewed before. Sean is a producing branch manager. To me, what's the most important metric is the man has created 105 total cost analysis over the past 30 days, and he's done well over 2,000 total cost analysis. He is a mortgage coach, grandmaster ×2. But Sean, just for anyone who doesn't know you, give us a little bit about your backstory and who you are as a leader today.
Yeah, so I'm a branch manager, producing branch manager in Northern Virginia, DC metro area. 2 kids, 5.5 and 2.5. I played soccer in the 6th grade, so not quite at like the same level as Brian. But I was pretty good. I could have gone that route, but just went in a totally different direction. Right now, manage one main branch in Fairfax and two satellite offices in Fredericksburg and DC. Our team did amazing this year. So personal production was just north of 100 million, and the branch was just south of 500 million. And the best part about it was, I think everybody, except for a couple people, are pretty new to the business, and the amount that they were able to accomplish this year was like the most satisfying thing, and still be about 70% purchase. So even in the refi boom, they really kind of focused on what they were doing. So that's
well, aside from what a prolific mortgage coach that you are, the fact that you maintained 70% purchase centric last year, I think that's something to be proud of, and something that we can pull some takeaways from on that. So very, very cool. So let's kick off the table. And I'm even going to ask you this question, Todd, although I'm going to let you wrap it up and then you come around with the next question. But what does modern leadership mean? Like putting modern in front of leadership. And let's start with you, Brian Covey. What does that mean to be a modern leader?
And I love this one. So we've been talking about this for a while. And I realized a few years ago that I didn't really have a personal brand. And I worked for companies that in a way, you take on their values and what they do and things that were there. And we've all probably had those managers that they would tell you what to do, micromanage you. You got meetings upon meetings, and the people that tell you how to do it because they used to do it that way years and years ago. And I saw a need in this evolution of what we call now, and we've coined it as a modern leader. And I think we're all kind of using that verbiage. But what that looks like to me in my world is I've gotten very aware and kind of that emotional intelligence of what I'm good at and also what I'm not good at, and built teams around that. And the attractive leadership model of building a team, whether you're a producer, you're hiring a support staff, you're working with the right processor, you're working with the right real estate agents, builders, you want a team that you function really well at a high level. It's dynamic and you've got things working. So modern leader today, one, has to be very aware of themselves. And that is quite a journey to get real with yourself about who you are, what are your gifts and talents, and what do you bring? What is your value and your unique value you bring to the table? But then to be able to scale a team, to me, the modern leader has to be able to grow a team, right? However big that vision is for you, if you can attract other people to come in and your dream is big enough for their dreams to fit inside of it, Dave, they're going to be able to coach right on the ground level, right? And be able to help people not only structure loans, but help them understand how to get customers, how to work with real estate agents, how to build their personal brand. They're going to be somebody that I say is more of a partner than it used to be. The old traditional model was, I'm going to tell you what to do, and then I'm going to follow up and micromanage you and send you reports every day and basically beat you up until you do it my way. Today, that in my opinion, doesn't work. You look at working remotely and you look at how people respond, the psychology of it, and people are looking for someone to come along the journey and partner with them and bring out what they are great at and then build teams around them. So it's going to continue to evolve. You know this, David, it's all about learning and growing. Know what you do well, know what others do well, and the collective impact is greater when we bring all of our skills and our talents together so we can go to the marketplace and actually bring the best value. It's not one individual dictating what's happening.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple things I think are pretty interesting, because we have evolved into this remote work culture. And, now I've always been a servant leader, but, let's face it, all forms of leadership work to a certain level. But I think in this new world where a lot more people are working from home and remote than ever, servant leadership and crafting strategies together, collaboration is going to be much more effective. One thing you didn't totally mention, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but I want to unpack it and see if you agree with me, that being a modern leader, you are using technology super wisely, and you are building teams and helping teams develop skills of leveraging technology super wisely. And you're using media, whether you're a podcaster or whether you're just using text video, or like Sean's using Mortgage Coach. A modern leader is really good at helping their team unlearn old ways of doing things, relearn new ways of doing things. And those are skills that are more important than ever. Do you agree with that?
100%. And we take one of the core values of our team is all around innovation, this entrepreneurial spirit. And for me, the modern leader, I've learned so much about technology, Dave, not just things like Mortgage Coach, right? And like, how do we work with our customers and add that value? But you're right, like going on platforms like Clubhouse, going on to Instagram, being active on LinkedIn, and all of those. I had an interesting conversation yesterday. Someone reached out and they had followed my profile and they said, hey, I want to know what you've done to get to where you are. And I walked them through a couple of strategies that are there. And so that modern leader not only needs to be engaged in the technology and the platforms that are working, not be afraid to try things that are new, that you're not comfortable with, that you don't know if it's going to work out or not. And I consider myself one of those early adopters. I'm not afraid to try something, and then maybe we have to adapt and adjust. But that technology that we're using today, as simple as, Dave, think about a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have gotten on a Zoom call, or we use Microsoft Teams, and expected everybody to be on video, have good video quality, good audio quality, and engage. But now that requires us to do that in the remote world that we live in. And to be able to do that efficiently and at a high level is going to separate you from others. And I've heard people say, Brian, I'm still not comfortable getting on camera with my own teams. Those leaders are going to get left behind. And so hear me when I say that is happening. And there's also other trends that are happening with technology, to your point, Dave, that the leaders are going to have to embrace it first because the team is watching what you do. And if the leader doesn't embrace it, chances are you have a pretty low adoption rate, and maybe you get lucky and you have a few that do, but we've got to lead that front. And I think technology is going to continue to make our lives more efficient. I'll give you one real example. You and I do this a lot. We send videos back and forth or audio messages because you know how long it takes me to text a message to somebody and I misspell things and it doesn't come out the way I thought. It has no tone, but I can hold down the record button if you have an iPhone or use other apps, and I can send you a video message or an audio message. And how much better does it feel to connect that way? That's simple, but that's using technology to your favor.
I love that. We're going to come back and unpack that. You said something, Clubhouse. Let's come back in a minute. We'll make that a topic because I think it's a good example of something new that has hit, and we're all trying to, as leaders, figure out, is it busyness or is it business, and how do I prioritize that? And let's face it, if we're going to spend time somewhere else, we got to spend less time somewhere else. So let's come back to like, how do we assess new ideas and how do we come into that? And then let's also come back. I really like the fact that you brought, you got to get your team on video. And I do agree there's a lot to unpack there. So Sean, how would you define what is a modern leader to you?
I mean, a lot of stuff Brian said kind of nailed it. I think one of the things that you got to really be flexible with is there's a giant generation gap between current originators and getting new people in. And there's technologies that they're bringing that they're not necessarily using for mortgage, just the way they communicate. Like I got some loan officers in their mid-20s, they wake up, they're on Instagram just from beginning to the end. They're posting what they do, everything else. And when I got in the business, it was one thing. You go from real estate agent to real estate agent, office to office to office. And it's interesting watching how they're able to integrate what they just do in their life. And it's also interesting because consumers are more going towards what these kids are doing. That's how they kind of communicate and deal with stuff. So it's being flexible, looking at how they deal with problems in their own lives, deal with communicating with their family and friends in their own lives, and how do we adapt to that? Because before, there was this weird kind of barrier of entry with mortgage companies. Like, you're going to do it the way the company tells you to do it. And they would tell the consumer how to do it. They would tell loan officers how to do it. And now the consumers have turned around and they're saying, no, we want this to be like every other aspect in our life, and you're gonna have to communicate that way. So it's really listening to people that are younger and just have like a natural proclivity to using these technology and how to adopt them. So instead of just saying, I don't know what to do with Instagram, man, you go do you, I'll deal with it in another way. But we've had some really great ideas from people just doing that and just having a really open mind to how we can adopt those types of things.
Yeah, you brought up another interesting point, which I know the three of us, well, actually the four of us, were all doing Darren Hardy's Hero's Journey and the opening chapter. Is it four? There's four generations in the workforce, or is it five? Brian? Four, yeah. That we literally, being a modern leader, is knowing how to deal, influence, and bring out the best in four generations at a time. And it's the same thing if you're a loan officer. You're selling to four generations, and that's not typical. Usually the consumer makeup is like three. So Todd, how would you answer that question, and also any play off what these guys are saying?
Well, I mean, I think both you guys just nailed it. I think, to me, it's changed after 2020 because, as Brian mentioned, right, we've got video now as a big part of it in the remote workforce, and how then as a leader, a modern leader has to be able to impact the team, not just face to face, but in a remote world to keep them engaged and keep them involved. Because if not, it's so much easier in 2021 to have lost touch with your company, to have lost touch with your leadership and say, gosh, I got a better offer over here, and make a jump that you would have made before when you had the daily or weekly face-to-face with your people. So I think that's really key. And I think the other part that I really love that Brian said is you've got to really help build around everyone's unique abilities, right? In the end, everyone's going to have their great strengths. And I love that you pointed out the weaknesses as well, but ultimately you got to get people on the right seat of the bus. And I think a modern leader is able to do that. And then to tie in what Sean said, now you've also got to be able to figure out what is the technology that I'm not using, that my team is using, that I need to be better at, because as Brian said, that your team is watching you, and therefore you've got to actually lead with integrity. So I think that's, how I would sum it up, Dave.
I love it. So let's make sure we got a question from Ryan Skaggs. And thank you, Ryan. He wants to know, one, your Instagram handle. I'm assuming he's asking you, Brian Covey. What is your Instagram account?
Yep. At the Brian Covey.
All right. And Sean, what if someone was going to follow you on social media, what is the place you would tell them to follow you?
Instagram or Facebook, either one.
Okay, cool on
Instagram.
that.
What's
Okay.
that?
Okay, I got that. And by the way, guys, I'm D Savage MC personally, and Mortgage Coach does have an Instagram place. Highly recommend you check it out. Also, Ryan asked, do you have core values for your individual teams outside the company's core values? I think that was to you, Brian. Or I don't know. I'd love for you to both answer it.
Yeah, I would jump in. So some of the ones that, and the reasons why, I joined and part of the organization was some of those that were there that overlapped. I felt like it was a nice overlap that's there. With our team, we talk about a couple of things. That discipline for me, you've heard this probably from Jocko, is discipline equals freedom. And we talk about that with our group. It's one of the core values. I believe language matters. There's a lot of language we infuse. One of those is actions over feelings. There's days you're going to show up, you're not motivated, you don't feel like doing anything, but we take action. We believe in teamwork above all. So we look for people that'll fit our team. And one of those core values, and comes from sports, is I want team players, because I believe we can develop them into superstars versus individuals. We all know who those people are. They have great production numbers, but they come with a lot of baggage and things that are there. And so that's what's there. And then I look back to just respect. It's one of those that we treat everybody with respect, whether it's an email communication, a phone call, what we do that's there. And that's really helped us just kind of mold as we go through. The last one that encompasses all is we are a growth team. We talk about this with our team. Personally, I want you to grow. Professionally, I want you to grow. And as a team, we will grow together. And so I always believe that's kind of how the podcast came out. Dave, was I believe in always learning and growing and attracting the right people. And that's how we've built our culture. And I'll tell you this is what's cool. As you attract those people, they have pushed me to have to level up every year, because as the leader, I have to continually raise my lid, back to Maxwell, like law of the lid. If I don't continually get better, the Brian of 5 years ago could not lead the team in 2021 that we have the opportunity to lead. Right. And so the Brian in 2025 needs to get better. I need to be thinking about the best version of myself. And so that's how the core values and things and language of culture that we bring in for every day.
So Ryan, I mean, the answer is yes. They have, he's got regional core values. I'm guessing that Sean does. I am going to ask in a minute. I do want to shine a light on the fact that he's got that core value as a region, that we're a growth team. Like, we're not the status quo team. We're not looking for people like, hey, I've been doing it this way and I'm going to keep doing it. And that's one of the reasons why, they've got a lot of folks that use Mortgage Coach, because there's always a better way. They're looking for the better way, and then they're driving that conversation. But Sean, what about you within your branch? You've got your company values, you've got your regional values. Do you have like a set of branch values that you drive on?
I mean, the first thing I was looking for people that can adopt what our company is good at, especially in the beginning. I needed people to be really comfortable with technology, because even though we're at the beginning of it, 5 years from now, it's going to be light years more. And I wanted people that are able to adopt, so they're not blaming what's happening in the industry on their production on what's happening. The other thing is I look really try to instill into people, just have good reactions to bad situations. Like you need to be able to stop and calmly work through stuff and work with your team. So the worse it is, the better your reaction kind of needs to be, and the calmer you need to be to kind of get through it. And that is, especially in this last year. I mean, it was not easy. It was like everyone's like, oh, it's a great problem. There's all this volume. I'm like, there's no such thing as a good problem. Like, it's a problem. Like, there's been plenty of people that collapsed through opportunity and just weren't able to handle it. So having that ability to talk to someone who's been exhausted, hadn't worked for a year, someone made a mistake, and just say, hey, I get it. How do we fix it and move on? That's kind of the personality trait and value I want in the people that we hire.
Love that. I'm going to come back in a minute because you kick ass with a mortgage coach, and I want to know how you evolved and lead by example. And then I also want to come back to how do you get others in your branch to adopt to best practices like that. But give you a minute to think about that. But
Yeah.
Todd Bookspan, what questions do you have for these guys as the next round?
Well, it was interesting because of the fact that you guys brought up Clubhouse, and my first foray on Clubhouse was Brian invited me into a room and sat and listened, and then I was invited to be a moderator with Michael Regan and a couple of other really great leaders. Ken Perry showed up. It was just a fun conversation for an hour out of my day. So I'd love to hear, Brian, how you're using that in your business. I know you said you're spending about 2 hours a week on there, so nothing too crazy, but what has it done for you so far?
Yeah. So what I did is I took the network that's already there, and I took the strategy of I was going to go on to Clubhouse and basically create value at a different audience, people that may show up there. That if you look at the app, it's kind of designed for people that were not okay being on camera, right? Something people probably not on Instagram as much, even though they may be, people that would be more comfortable to come on. And I wanted to collaborate and be in rooms, not just about mortgage, although we've done that, right? With some of our friends that we all know, we've collaborated on mortgage. I've also gone into rooms that I want to learn things more about, right? Personal branding. How do you get consumers' attention? What's the customer experience need to look like in other areas? And so I go on not only to learn, but then to connect and collaborate with others. And it's been one of the few places, if you think about, you can join a room. And the amazing thing to me is people pop in and out of here, like A-list celebrities to people that I had someone this morning, a brilliant 16-year-old from Africa, and he's talking about emotional intelligence and building out his team of 8. And he's asking questions. So you have this wide range of people. And what I have found is my big takeaways are: one, you learn a lot about yourself and where your expertise lies, because people will ask you questions. They will ask you to interject, add value about a topic. One yesterday, we were talking about corner office conversations, leading a remote workforce. Well, I got to sit back and listen to 10 other people that lead in completely different industries in mortgage and go, that was a great idea. I love that. So I left with 3 ideas that I can implement. I don't know where else you can find that, where you're actually part of the conversation. And so what it also does for us, the second part, my takeaway would be, it does make you more of an authority, because people will see you on there. They will connect with you. And over time, you will get better at that, but you will then build connections. And the last one is, I've taken probably 7, 8 connections offline, and they're going to be guests on my podcast, or I'm going to be on theirs, which to me is where additional next level collaborations happen. And we just expand our collective impact together. That'd be what I would say. I don't spend a lot of time. I'm not just hanging out in rooms. Sometimes I will turn it on, with my AirPods, and I'll walk the dog and I'll listen to a cool conversation where you got people from Tony Robbins and Bradley and Grant Cardone and like mega people out there in a room dropping advice. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I just got some ideas I hadn't thought about, but I have noticed it seems to be a magnet for people that are being modern leaders, using technology to collaborate and to learn from others. But it sounds like your cornerstone strategy is you're learning about it, you're learning from things that you're interested in, and it does give you the ability to serve. So that's cool.
100%. Dave, what I would add is, for those that are wondering, hey, Brian, you spend that time there, what's it's actually produced out of there? Well, we've actually interviewed a branch manager I didn't know in a different market, and I've gotten over 3 referrals that are legitimate, going to close with us, referrals. So if you think it doesn't work, it might just be the strategy. We might need to tweak that and adjust. But for me, it's already worked, and that was not my intention going into it.
Fascinating. Sean, are you playing with the clubhouse at all?
No, I haven't. Brian hasn't sent me an invitation yet, so I'm
On its way right now. Okay, I'm going right now.
Should give a shout out to Catherine Peterson, who just said thanks for discussing it, because she's the one who co-moderated that when I was in yesterday with Michael Regan.
Yeah, and Catherine, by the way, it'd be cool to have you. It's been a long time since I've interviewed you, and it'd be good to have you on a Friday mastermind. So if you're game, shoot me an email on a Friday at 9 o'clock that you're available, and I'd love to bring you into the community. It's been too long, Catherine.
I probably shouldn't say it, but I have 2 invites, so ping me if you need an invite.
Guys, I have 4 invites right now, and so now remember, I need your mobile number. So private message me in Facebook and give me half a day. But if anybody does need an invite, I've got 4. But they're going to be gone at some point. So we do. Anybody that wants to get in there, we want to help you. And I think there's a thread in our group. And Brian Covey, I know you gave out a few invites. So if anybody wants to check it out, can they private message you too, Brian?
Yeah, so I just sent Sean his. So thank goodness I got to take care of Sean. And I got 2 left. So whoever hits me up first, to your point, Dave, make sure you send your phone number so I can add you to my contacts. And then that way the app will work.
Love it. So remember, community, if you have questions, put them below. We're halfway through this. I've got a few more questions, but do you have one, Todd?
Well, Dave, I want to know what you think about a modern leader. What does that look like? Because I view you as one, but I'd love to hear your opinion.
Well, first of all, I think it's everything that a traditional leader was. A person that keeps their word. Like, you have integrity. You show up for people. You care about others more than yourself. Like, I think the definition of a leader is if people are following you, you're a leader. And a leader that brings out the best in others is the one that helps others. So I think those are by far the most. But I think for me, it is using technology to amplify that. I consider my role at Mortgage Coach and CEO of Mortgage Coach to help build a community of like-minded mortgage professionals that believe advice is the ultimate value prop that we can give to a family, and to build community around that. And what does that mean? It means using Facebook groups, it means using Zoom and showing up on video. And even though I don't love the place I'm at and the way I'm sitting down, it's, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm here and I'm showing up and I'm leading. It means text video. It means Mortgage Coach. It means things like the 2 things that have grown the most over the past 2 years. 3 years ago, we weren't using a link to take an app. And even in 2018, it was kind of an idea, but most companies didn't have great adoption. In 2019, Bank of America went from 34% or 37% of all of their mortgages were taken digitally. In 2020, it was 70%. I posted a question in this group, and it looks like that all the best of the best, it's like 95%, 99%. And so I think being a leader is when you identify things like that, you teach your team how to build the skills to do that. That is a great question to transition to you, Sean. How long ago was it that you adopted Mortgage Coach and you turned it into something that was part of your?
I was using the PDF version in like 2005.
So you were an early adopter.
Yeah, we were doing it. I was actually, I used to work with like Kai McBride and Eric Mitchell and stuff on the West Coast, and they kind of gave it to me back then. And then video, 2010, whenever it kind of came out, I loved it. That was one of the biggest things that helped me kind of get started in a new market, because I moved out here from California and didn't know anybody. So I would just go into Facebook groups and different realtor things. I would see who was complaining about their lender or whatever. Then I would send them a total cost analysis, blast it out to every realtor I knew, do the open house flyers that way, say, hey, put this on Facebook. And instead of just doing it as promotion for your open house, instead of just doing it at your open house. And it was really funny. In the beginning, people were just blown away with videos and everything else. And it's kind of like what you were saying. It was so new and so ahead of its time that it was almost novel. Like they didn't know what to kind of make of it. They just thought it was amazing. It would scare people. Like when I'd pop up the video would literally frighten them, like, huh. And then being able to like highlight stuff behind them. And over time, especially in the last 24 months, nobody is like shocked by it. Like it's become something, whether it's that exact platform, which is really nothing else in the mortgage industry, but everyone's using something in their day-to-day lives like it. Then now it went from being like a novelty to like a blanket. Like they're comfortable with it. It makes sense. It looks like the rest of the stuff they do. And you send someone like a paper, like LE or something like that, and they're just like, I don't know. That doesn't really work for me. So getting people to adopt, it's not hard because it mimics kind of what they're using in other aspects of their life.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I had a executive I think it was a couple months ago. I don't want to mention the name of the company, but it's a household name. And he had said that the mortgage coach total cost analysis, its time has come and a fee worksheet is no longer a viable option. Like it's just not. But with that said, getting loan officers to adopt mortgage coach or any new technology that's time has come, like a link to schedule a meeting. That's one of those things that 2 years ago, I was kind of irritated when someone gave me a link to schedule a meeting. I'm like, hey, schedule your own meeting. Don't ask me to do it.
Right.
And now I'm either sending someone my link or I'm like, give me your link. Like that's a fast way to schedule a meeting. And so we're living in this link economy. How are you bringing leadership to your branch to get them to adopt mortgage coach or other new ways of doing things that are just obviously better?
I mean, one, I show it to them, let them know they don't necessarily, like you can send it out and the client can look at it whenever. You can go in and make changes as opposed to do it anywhere, mobilely from your phone, from an iPad, whatever. If you need to make a change, you can do presentations kind of anywhere. You don't have to be tied to your computer. And majority of like built-in comparisons, there's no flexibility with it. If you want to make a new one, you're then going to have to go back into your system, type it up, make the new comparison, send it back over. Mortgage Coach is done on the fly. So if you're not, and being able to turn that fast wherever you're at right now, it's again, the current mentality of the consumer. It's like at Amazon, I want it prime. I want my mortgage cost analysis before I ask you for it. I want the changes made before I tell you about it. You can't do that if you're driving in your car, where I can pull over with mortgage code, just banging out on my phone and say, hey, here you go. Let me know what you think. And I can do a video with my phone if I need to. So it's just a much more flexible tool, and it's a much cleaner tool for people. So getting them to adopt it, not that hard once they played with it for a little bit.
So, hey, Sean, tell me, I think people are dumbfounded by the fact you did over 100 just last month, and some of them did do 100 all last year. So what are your shortcut tips, tricks, strategies for cranking out that many TCAs?
Yeah, I mean, put templates in for all the fee sheets and the different states and stuff that you're going to be in. It's super simple from there. Then you're really just putting in the numbers for the specific transaction. And I like it because I wake up, I got 2 kids. I wake up at like 4:30 or 5 and I'll bang out 10 or 15 of them and then have them set to get emailed out at specific times when we're going to be meeting with the client and stuff, just looking at the calendar. So I can have everything kind of preloaded, ready to go. Once you get used to using it, it takes 3 minutes if you have templates set up to put something in. So yeah, I don't know if there's really tips or tricks. It's a simple tool that does a lot from anywhere.
Yeah, you gotta just do it. I gotta show a post that it's clearly the most liked post of the Mortgage Coach channel this week, but I think it might be one of the all-time greats. This is Jeremy Forcier.
It's because it's good looking pizza, Dave.
Yeah, well, here's what I think why it's so good. One, he's wearing a super nice club hat, which Brian and I aren't wearing ours, but we both represent super nice. 2, it's a homemade pizza, but I actually think it's just this opening sentence. He's like, who else created 17 TCAs in a single day? Anyways, it got 208 likes over the past 24 hours. So shout out to Jeremy Forcier. And for anyone who's listening, you just heard it from Sean, who's done 105 in 30 days. Jeremy, who did 17 in a single day. it saves you time. It's just you got to do the first 10, first 20. But that could be said about any technology. One thing I wrote down when I interviewed Jeremy this Tuesday, which, guys, the interview was epic, is one of the people were asking him, he was talking about how he just hired 4 new LOAs and he's doubling his team and he's scaling it. And he was walking everybody through his process. And he said, hey, for the first 30 days, I want him to watch, learn, model. And then his process is watch, do 5 times. So guys, it's no more difficult than that. If you want to train someone how to use Mortgage Coach, if you want to train someone how to do video, if you want to train them how to do CRM, have them watch what you do, and then you watch them do it. You do that 5 times. Now, when it comes to teaching people how to use a CRM, you're going to need to probably do it 20 times over 2 or 3 months, because it really is. People are used to using whatever their CRM is. They're addicted to it, and getting people to adopt a new way of doing the CRM does take longer than other technologies. At least that's my opinion. It's been my experience. But things like Mortgage Coach, things like Zoom, things like text video, just watch, do, and they'll get off to it. Brian or Sean, anything you want to add to that?
You know what I'd throw in there, Dave, is that one of the things someone asked Jeremy is how do you do it, just like I asked Sean. And so Sean said, hey, I just do it in the morning when I got time. And that same thing Jeremy said. He said, if it takes you 10 minutes and you have to do 5, then schedule 50 minutes. He said, you just have to block the time to do it. And I think that that's where most people just got caught up, is that they don't actually schedule time to do the most important things. They're just so busy reacting to everything else.
Yeah, good point.
Dave, I would add, Sean's a great example. And then we've now brought on others, Tyler in our group and some others that are doing a lot more for the TCAs. So you got to model it for your team. But I really think there is a point in time, and the executive that shared that with you before, we've talked about this. You don't want to be so far behind that you're that late laggard kind of adopter that everybody else has done that, because you won't know the business has shifted. It's almost like who moved my cheese. Business is already sifting out, and we've seen that in other trends that are happening. You don't want to be the one that's left behind. Get proficient at it now while you have reps to put in. And then like Sean said, hey man, it's just 3 minutes. So you may start and it's 10 or 15 minutes, right? And you build your templates and you build things, but it is a worthy thing to do, because if your conversion goes up, your presentation is more appealing, and you're able to help more customers by giving that advice and using tools that are at your disposal. What are we waiting on?
And I think there's so many less steps than actually going through a company's POS. You don't have to log into your system. You don't have to generate a PDF. You don't have to send an email. People just text me, hey, Sean, can you update the sales price to 580? I'll do it from my phone. I'm like, your link's updated. You don't even have to go in and resend a new link or anything else. And let me know if you want any other changes, as opposed to like stop, drop, and do everything. So I can be sitting here while we're interviewing, doing a Mortgage Coach from my phone with my POS shut down, just updating a couple items for a client. And you just can't do that with a traditional system.
Yeah, we just had a question from John. I'm not going to do a Mortgage Coach demo, Sean, and if you want one, we'll put a link down below. But this is not a Mortgage Coach report. This is a fee worksheet, and this is what most loan officers are doing: rate, payment, cash to close, and this is what a Mortgage Coach report is. This is another top user within your group, Brian, and it's got your logo, it's got your picture, and then it's showing different options. And the point I'm making here is this is just a better way. It's easier to create financial options for a family, and it's better for the family. So it really comes down to, if you're not using Mortgage Coach, you're delivering a status quo experience. And anyways, if you want more information, go to our website, or we'll put a link down below how to get a demo of it. In my interview with Jeremy Forcier a couple days ago, he showed how he's using it. There's also a great video called How Jeremy Forcier Uses Mortgage Coach. With Sean, are you cool if we schedule an interview and we
absolutely.
We do 30 minutes? How do you and your team use Mortgage Coach? I think that would be a cool follow-up to this. So
I think
an important,
I think you're selling yourself a little short on it with the status quo thing and not. That was kind of status quo. Now something like Mortgage Coach is going to be the status quo because most people don't even like looking at PDFs and stuff like that anymore. So it's lagging behind. If people are still doing it, you're good for the next 36 months or so. After that, you need to adapt to this kind of stuff because they just want to pull it up on their phone. They like that. I got I think 80 something apps on my phone that was from everything from like face change to my kids' online school to everything. I don't even like really going to my email and pulling up PDFs and squeezing it. My eyes aren't what they were. It's a mess. So I think status quo is not accurate.
it's worse. It's literally worse than status quo. And I agree with you. I think given where we've taken the Mortgage Coach, and it's a service failure. You're not giving the same data to people, and they're not getting the same advice. Well, I know one important thing I wanted to make sure we covered, and we got 20 minutes left, but I really want to make sure that we talk about how production partners with ops and the type of leadership and team management that you guys do when it comes to, because at the end of the day, you could do a great job of taking loans, you could be a great leader, but if the way sales and ops isn't working harmoniously and effectively, you can't scale and you're not sustainable. So who wants to go first on that?
To jump in, so you're dealing with, day to day that probably some of the listeners could really benefit. And then I'll add in what we're doing kind of behind the scenes and some things that we partner on with me and you.
I'm sorry, broke up a little bit.
What? Yeah, you go first, Sean. Is basically what
Oh,
he said,
yeah.
and he'll add some color.
I mean, is going to sound kind of weird, but we are really lucky. The head of the ops team, our underwriting managers are just fantastic. And our ops manager is fantastic as well. So Kim, Tammy, Josh, then I'll name like a bunch of other people. Just fantastic. But I really try to take, other than one or two phone calls or emails back and forth from loan officers to the underwriter or whatever. If they can't get past anything, I just jump in. You guys go originate loans. I'll figure out a solution for you. And if we can't get it done at the underwriting level, we go up. And not everybody's got an ego, but nobody's got a huge ego to where they feel bad passing it on, even on the ops side. Like underwriters know, okay, we haven't come to a good solution for this. So yeah, you go talk to one of the underwriting managers and we'll figure it out. But I like to take all that stress away from my producers as much as possible. So after a little while, they trust me, they trust how the ops works, and they can just do their job instead of watching grass grow or wondering when's the underwriter going to be able to call them back, everything else. That for me, when I was strictly originating, was a cancer. Like once I had a question with somebody, I couldn't move on until that was answered. So I would just basically sit there and look at my phone and my email. And if 20 minutes went by, there'd be another email that I would bang out, or I'd try to call again. And it didn't do a good job. And it was never effective. And last year, I think that was when we really adopted that heavily and just making sure people weren't talking to everybody. It was much more effective just because everybody was exhausted. So having an exhausted loan officer talking to an exhausted underwriter, dealing with an exhausted processor, there was very few good outcomes with those phone calls. So like to take as many people out of that as possible and say, you guys do your job and you've got more files than you can handle. Me and your manager will deal with it and make sure we get this cleared up. And then we'll circle back around with what the solution is. Created a much better environment for everybody, like a lot less stress. Underwriters weren't getting hammered with loan officers or like, hey, this is taking forever, or whatever the case may be. And it just got to where everybody worked well together again. But as much as I can take off my LO's plates on dealing with it, the better it is.
What is the meeting rhythms, and how often does your ops team do a daily huddle, and what kind of boundaries do you put for loan officers and to have access throughout the day? Are there quiet times? Can they ping them anytime?
I talk to my ops manager every morning at like 8 o'clock. We call half the time. We're not even talking about mortgage stuff. We just call and just goof off and it's kind of like a hype man thing in the morning. We get each other fired up for the day. I call the two underwriting managers all the time and send them like memes and stuff. I just mess with them. Like it's fun. We have a really good time, and it loosens everybody up. And it's just the way I like to work with people. But it makes the tough phone calls easier if I like send a Will Ferrell meme like I'm stuck in a glass box, I need your help, and then they call like, what is wrong with you, man? So we do huddles every day. It creates a great environment. There's no real boundaries we have between loan officers, underwriters, processors, and everyone else. I don't think they need to spend a lot of time working on an individual problem. And I feel the same way for the underwriters. That's the reason there's management. I don't want like a street underwriter spending an hour and a half talking to a loan officer about variable income. There's 4 more files she could have underwritten in the time. So that just kind of gets pushed off. But they're pretty much like my unwritten rule is try once. If you have a conversation, it doesn't work, you don't agree, call me, give it to me, and I'll talk to the underwriter, then the underwriting manager, and go back. But those boundaries are really just for efficiency and not for personality issues and things like that.
Got it. Brian, what would you add to that, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and so we've built our team, and again, this is just from feedback and collaborating with our group, is we stay in our lanes. And we talk about that a lot, is we each stay in our own lanes. And so we have very competent leaders, and I think that's important. And our culture is not just sales. Our culture isn't just ops. Our culture is all of the different teams working together in departments to make sure we deliver that culture for everyone. And so we call them trifecta calls, which is basically processing, closing, and underwriting. And then I'm on those, and we are forecasting, we're planning ahead. We're looking at, different matchups. Do we need more help here? Do we have enough underwriter certification? We have more USDA coming in. We need more jumbo underwriters. We do a lot of that planning. And again, staying in our lane, that's my wheelhouse, right? Like that's what I love to plan and do. That allows the producing branch manager to focus on their team. Like Sean said, you heard very much where his time and focus is. And this is, Dave, I think something I wish I'd learned earlier in my career. If we all stay in our lanes and we're great leaders of our team, we want to keep our teams very small so that when we are a larger team, it still feels very small. We make very local decisions. We pick up the phone and call each other, and you've got relationships built. And I think that's really helped us. 2020 tested everybody's culture, your relationships, and your ability to communicate through stressful times. Because if you were not communicating as stuff was hitting the fan, we all know what happened. And so we really learned throughout that, what were our strengths and then what were the areas of opportunity that Sean and I were talking earlier. That was almost the pre-battle, because now we know under stress at the highest stress levels, what we do well and where we also need to make sure that we're prepared for. So I think knowing where your team is, stay in your own lanes, collaborate often, but we do have a rhythm, and we bring the branch managers in once a month and we talk about staffing and things that are going on. But again, it's back to, we like to lead very local. That's more my style. Sean leads his team different than the team in Tennessee, different than the team in Louisiana. And that's the way.
One thing that I don't even know if this was done with a purpose, but I think it just kind of turned into it, is we don't really have a linear process where it's like a factory line where originator takes it and the processor takes it and then whatever, and then moves on to the underwriter, then back. So I don't really think that works as effectively anymore. I don't know. Mortgages have too many just pieces where there's personality. So it's hard to keep something on a factory line. So it's a weird analogy, but my kid watches these too. All he does is watch dinosaur stuff. And he was watching Jurassic Park because he makes me. And there's like a scene where the raptors are surrounding like a sheep tied to a post, and they all pounce on it at the same time. And I'm like, that is our mortgage process. Everyone on the team has got one goal, and it's to kill that loan all at the same time. Whoever can get a leg, whoever can grab whatever, grab that. There's no real lines of demarcation of whose job is what. The job is to get the loan done on time, comfortably for the customer, and we kill it. That's it. So it doesn't go from one person to the next. Everyone just gets on at the same time. And I think that happened kind of organically. that we would just have calls like, okay, we can't get this out today. I'll do it for you. And the underwriter would say, hey, I'm going to hold this for you while you get this. And then the closer would jump in and do something. The processor would say, I can't get it. And it's been interesting working remotely, I think, evolved that quicker because everyone's on Teams and has all these separate chats and stuff. So they just kind of bang it out at the same time. And it evolved faster, especially last year because we were all under so much just logistic pressure to manufacture loans that we had to figure out efficiencies and everyone had to take on more roles. Now it's just like a natural way of how we attack a problem.
I love it. That reminds me, and I don't know if this is like a full, documented principle, but can do, will do. Just if you could do it, do it. And that is part of the mortgage coach culture is can do, will do. And I recently listened to an audio book. I'm going to be interviewing the author real soon, former Navy SEAL. After the SEALs, he was a FBI special agent and on the FBI SWAT team. Anyways, Errol Dobler, by the way, great book, guys. Highly recommend it. It's only a 5-hour audio book, but he talks about one of the key 3 team cultures, and that is just always looking for work. If there's some work to be done, pick it up and run. So I do find, and I'd be willing to bet all top producing teams, I don't know if they'd use your Jurassic Park analysis or analogy. I think that just told us a lot about your personality, and I love it. So that's pretty cool. Your last name should be Savage, but I've already got it. But I love that. Todd, anything you want to add or any questions you want to make sure we get hit in these last 8 minutes?
I guess maybe the last question I would ask is, so what are you guys doing for your remote operations people? Are you doing anything extra for them right now?
We did corporately, we had gone and it was basically sending like the DoorDash and sending some gifts to their houses. And most of our team was remote prior. So fortunately for us, as far as operations went, we had some of that built. We've been layering and we've added new leadership. So in our processing team, we added a new regional leader. And so we're doing recognition. We've got some different qualifications that they're able to earn. We can give out points and we send things to them. I know the sales team, we obviously send things over as well. I'll tell you the one thing that I found, and this is something anybody could do that doesn't cost you any money, but including them in on video. And then when they make the Pinnacle Club and they make these awards and they have achieved some level of greatness that they're measured on, is to make sure we include that in there. And so we've started to include that in. For example, right after this, I'm actually jumping on and we've got an all team operations call for our region. One of our processors is a musician and he's going to be playing a song and we're going to be hanging out together and we're going to be celebrating some of those successes from our team. And so I would say for any leader, like I want to be part of that. They know I want to be part of it. Sean does a great job of this. You guys know Chad on our team, Tyler. We just need to be part of the same team and recognize successes. Showing up on video with our calls we do. And even like last night, Sean knows this. We have calls early in the morning, late at night with our leadership team, just making sure we're taking care of our people, right? And that's what servant leadership is. It's like, I want to know what's happening in their personal life to make sure we take care of them. But I don't think we can ever shower them with enough just simple recognition of what they've done. It basically validates the expectations we've set. And so for anyone out there, continue to do the video calls. I'm jumping on one, here at noon Central, and I can't wait to see everybody on Zoom and they're going to be celebrating and, partying together because they have just absolutely crushed it.
So that was awesome. And I hope takeaway, guys, you gotta be on video to connect. And I think it's never been more important that whether you're using Teams, whether you're using Zoom, make sure that everybody is showing up as often as possible on video and connecting with each other. Mark Mo Holt just asked a great question. He said, being a new guy to the origination business, what is the mindset needed to become a new generation modern leader? Let's let everybody take a crack at that. Who wants to go first? The mindset needed to become a new generation modern leader.
Yeah, I'll jump in. And this is really kind of near and dear to my heart is if you look for problems to solve and people to serve every day when you wake up, your leadership will expand, right? If you serve one person that day and that was your goal, you're going to make an impact on that one person. Well, guess what? The next day, you probably get to serve 2 people. And a month from now, you serve more people. Connect and really know your team so you can know where they need you to serve them. And I would also tell you, alongside of that is you're always learning and growing. You are always upskilling. And what I've found is by surrounding myself with people that are doing what I want to do at a higher level, that's where mentors come in. You're going to be able to add more value to your team, right? And that's where I go back to what I shared earlier is the Brian of 2015 couldn't lead the team of today and going forward. So that leader is always evolving, always connected to their team. And what I've learned is that humility of, and our team knows this, I don't have all the answers, guys. I don't. And be okay to not have the answers and to leverage your team around you as collaboration over competition wins every single time. Don't get me wrong. We are hyper competitive at our group, hyper competitive. But I believe collaboration is something that you're just going to have to learn that skill to evolve and bring out the greatness in your team.
Love it. Sean, thoughts on that one?
I mean, I think the first thing is really know why you want to be a leader. I think a lot of people think it's like a destination or a normal evolution of your career that you're gonna kind of become a branch manager, sales manager, whatever. But if that's not really what your passion is like really helping grow people, helping them fix their problems, helping their careers and also their personal lives. I mean, a lot of times Brian's been my therapist more than once. And there's a lot of time that goes into that. And if it's not your passion, you're just not going to enjoy it. And it's gonna come out. So that would be the first thing. And just don't do it too fast. Like really get your business settled, get your system settled, get scalable. And once you've got all that built out and you have time and you realize, okay, I'm working now from kind of 9 to 5. I'm not that crazy. I got my system. I got this. Then you can bring on other stuff because it's really uncomfortable when you start managing people up front and you've all of a sudden the limited time you have is chewed up even more. So I would say take your time and make sure it's really what you want. And you don't have to be like a manager and stuff to be a leader. You can just be someone that helps people.
Love that. Todd, anything you would add to that?
Well, it just reminds me of just being present, right? I mean, people right now who are working at home, even the introverts who love to work at home actually need someone to talk to and hear them out and be present. So I love the fact that Brian's been Sean's therapist. I think in the end, I see originators who are just in such a hurry that they're thinking about the next phone call, the next client they're going to be going after, and instead they're just not slowing down and listening to that person on the other end. So I think as a leader, that being present is so key going forward. And I feel like, such a great question to close out the discussion today for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, guys. This has been a great call. I am super grateful for your time, your transparency. Someone asked, when is the next New Start meeting for Mortgage Coach? Every Monday at 9. We've got a new guys training, and that's also recorded. So you could watch the last one over the weekend and get started, guys. And Mortgage Coach is not the only thing like this, but just about everything you need to do, you can self-educate now. You can Google it. You can go to YouTube. You can learn it. Get after it, whatever it is that you want. I love that closing advice that you gave, Sean. For anybody who is a new leader, don't worry about the speed to get there, to managing other people, and make sure you're clear on your why. I do see a lot of young leaders like, I just want to manage a bunch of people when they're not even managing themselves. So I think that was spectacular advice. Hope everybody got value from today's call. If you did, share this with a mortgage friend, give us a like. And every Tuesday at 9, we are doing an amazing interview. Every Friday at 9, you've got Todd and I masterminding with awesome mortgage leaders. And we have black belt training. If you want to be a mortgage coach black belt, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So both Sean and Brian, if you've got some people that are up and comers and they want to get to that black level status, you've got a live trainer every Wednesday. Also, one last thing, we have the recording, all of the videos available for the Modern Mortgage Summit, which was a spectacular training. Recommend if you do not have the 1-year pass, it's a great place to train. Brian, you watched some of that content. Do you use that at all in your training?
Yeah, we have. And especially for new team members that join, David, we want to get them just bought into what we're doing. If they've never been on Mortgage Coach before, the very simple way. Some of those videos though are beyond just mortgage coach, right? I mean, these are just practical experts doing what we want to do. So I love it because it's a library for me just to pull content. When someone asks me, hey, I want to learn about this. Guess what? I've got that for you. Come check this out.
Well, Sean, we need to get you on stage. We're going to do that Modern Mortgage Summit again this year. And it would be awesome to have you as part of that stage if it's something you're
I'd
open
love to.
All right, guys, this call is a wrap. Take care, everybody.
Seeing y'all.